Section 13 of A Popular History of France, Volume 4. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. A Popular History of France from the Earliest Times, Volume 4, by Francois Guizot, translated by Robert Black. Chapter 38, Francis I and Charles V, Part 13. Whatever hand it was that shot down Bourbon, Rome, after his death, was plundered, devastated, and ravaged by a brutal, greedy, licentious, and fanatical soldiery. Europe was moved at the story of the sack of Rome and the position of the Pope, who had taken refuge in the castle of St. Angelo. Francis I and Henry VIII renewed their alliance, and a French army under the command of Lautrec advanced into Italy. Charles V, fearing lest it should make a rapid march to Rome and get possession of the Pope whilst delivering him from captivity, entered into negotiations with him, and, in consideration of certain concessions to the Emperor, it was arranged that the Pope should be set at liberty without delay. Clement VII was so anxious to get out of his position, lately so perilous and even now so precarious, that he slank out of the castle of St. Angelo in the disguise of a tradesman the very night before the day fixed by the Emperor for his liberation. He retired to Orvieto, on the territory occupied by the French army. During this confusion of things in Italy, Charles V gave orders for arresting in Spain the ambassadors of Francis I and of Henry VIII, who were in alliance against him, and who, on their side, sent him 2 heralds at arms to declare war against him. Charles V received them in open audience at Burgos on the 22nd of January, 1528. "I am very much astonished," said he to the French envoy, "to find the King of France declaring against me a war which he has been carrying on for 7 years. He is not in a position to address me such a declaration. He is my prisoner. Why has he taken no notice of what I said to his ambassador immediately after his refusal to execute the Treaty of Madrid?" Charles V now repeated, in the very terms addressed to the French ambassador, the communication to which he alluded. "The king your master acted like a bastard and a scoundrel in not keeping his word that he gave me touching the Treaty of Madrid. If he likes to say to the contrary, I will maintain it against him with my body to his." When these words were reported to Francis I, he summoned on the 27th of March, 1528, the princes of the blood, the cardinals, the prelates, the grandees of the kingdom, and the ministers from foreign courts, and, having given a vivid account of his relations with Charles V, "I am not the prisoner of Charles," he said. "I have not given him my word. We have never met with our arms in our hands." He then handed his herald, Guienne, a cartel written with his own hand, and ending with these words addressed to Charles V. "We give you to understand that, if you have intended or do intend to charge us with anything that a gentleman loving his honor ought not to do, we say that you have lied in your throat, and that as often as you say so, you will lie. Wherefore, for the future write us nothing at all, but appoint us the time and place of meeting, and we will bring our sword for you to cross, protesting that the shame of any delay in fighting shall be yours, seeing that when it comes to an encounter, there is an end of all writing." Charles V did not receive Francis I's challenge till the 8th of June, when he, in his turn, consulted the grandees of his kingdom, amongst others the Duke of Infantado, one of the most considerable in rank and character, who, answering him in writing, "The jurisdiction of arms extends exclusively to obscure and foggy matters in which the ordinary rules of justice are at a discount. But, when one can appeal to oaths and authentic acts, I do not think that it is allowable to come to blows before having previously tried the ordinary ways of justice. It seems to me that this law of honor applies to princes, however great they may be, as well as to knights. It would be truly strange, my lord, that a debt so serious, so universally recognized, as that contracted by the King of France, should be discharged by means of a personal challenge." Charles V thereupon sent off his herald, Burgundy, with orders to carry to Francis I an appointment for a place of meeting between Fontarabia and Andaye, in such a spot as by common consent should be considered most safe and most convenient by a gentleman chosen on each side. And this offer was accompanied by a long reply, which the herald was at the same time to deliver to the King of France, whilst calling on him to declare his intention within 40 days after the delivery of that letter, dated the 24th of June, "in default whereof," said Charles, "the delay in fighting will be yours." On arriving at the frontier of France, the Spanish herald demanded a safe conduct, He was made to wait 7 weeks from the 30th of June to the 19th of August, without the king's cognizance, it is said. At last, on the 19th of September, 1528, Burgundy entered Paris and was conducted to the palace. Francis I received him in the midst of his court, and as soon as he observed the entrance of the herald, who made obeisance preliminary to addressing him, "Herald," cried the king, "all thy letters declare that thou bringest the appointment of time and place. Dost thou bring it?" "Sir," answered the Spaniard, "permit me to do my office, and say what the emperor has charged me to say." "Nay, I will not listen to thee," said Francis, "if thou do not first give me a patent signed by thy master, containing an appointment of time and place." "Sir, I have orders to read you the cartel, and give it you afterwards." "How, pray?" cried the king, rising up angrily. "Doth thy master pretend to introduce new fashions in my kingdom, and give me laws in my own court?" Burgundy, without being put out, began again. "Sir—" "Nay," said Francis, "I will not suffer him to speak to me before he has given me appointment of time and place. Give it me, or return as thou hast come." "Sir, I cannot, without your permission, do my office. If you will not deign to grant it to me, let me have your refusal handed me, and your ratification, I of my safe conduct, for my return." "I am quite willing," said the king. "Let him have it." Burgundy set off for Madrid, and the incident was differently reported by the two courts, but there was no further question of a duel between the two kings. One would not think of attempting to decide, touching this question of single combat, how far sincerity was on the side of Francis or of Charles. No doubt they were both brave, the former with more brilliancy than his rival, the latter, at need, with quite as much firmness. But in sending challenges one to the other, as they did on this occasion, they were obeying a dying-out code, and rather attempting to keep up chivalrous appearances than to put seriously in practice the precedents of their ancestors. It was no longer a time when the fate of a people could be placed in the hands of a few valiant warriors, such as the 3 Herati and the 3 Curiati, or the 30 Britons and the 30 English. The era of great nations and great contests was beginning, and one is inclined to believe that Francis I and Charles V were themselves aware that their mutual challenges would not come to any personal encounter. The war which continued between them in Italy was not much more serious or decisive. Both sides were weary of it, and neither one of the other of the two sovereigns espied any chance of success. The French army was wasting itself in the kingdom of Naples upon petty, inconclusive engagements. Its commander, Lautrec, died of the plague on the 15th of August, 1528. A desire for peace became day by day stronger. It was made, first of all, at Barcelona on the 20th of June, 1529, between Charles V and Pope Clement VII. And then a conference was opened at Cambrai for the purpose of bringing it about between Charles V and Francis I likewise. Two women, Francis I's mother and Charles V's aunt, Louise of Savoy and Margaret of Austria, had the real negotiation of it. They had both of them acquired the good sense and the moderation which come from experience of affairs and from difficulties in life. They did not seek to give one another mutual surprises and to play off one another reciprocally. They resided in 2 contiguous houses, between which they had caused a communication to be made on the inside. They conducted the negotiation with so much discretion that the petty Italian princes who were interested in it did not know the results of it until peace was concluded on the 5th of August, 1529. Francis I yielded on all the Italian and Flemish questions, and Charles V gave up Burgundy, and restored to liberty the King of France's 2 sons, prisoners at Madrid, in consideration of a ransom put at 2 millions of crowns, and of having the marriage completed between his sister Eleanor and Francis I. King Henry VIII complained that not much account had been made of him, either during the negotiations or in the treaty. But his discontent was short-lived, and he none the less came to the assistance of Francis I in the money questions to which the treaty gave rise. Of the Italian states, Venice was most sacrificed in this accommodation between the kings. "The city of Cambrai," said the Doge, Andrew Gritty, "is the purgatory of the Venetians. It is the place where emperors and kings of France make the Republic expiate the sin of having ever entered into alliance with them." Francis went to Bordeaux to meet his sons and his new wife. At Bordeaux, Cognac, Amboise, Blois, and Paris